Which is my name, Richard.
I see it,
You,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Top line.
They were
Others.
Another.
Oh, did I put you another?
No, it just,
No,
their
it's-
comment,
it's
your
here.
comment is missing.
He's got a new name, okay?
It's a mystery.
It's a luxury for.
Okay, we are on screen.
Okay. Motion to approve minutes,
So
thank you, second,
I'll second.
thank you. All in favor of the minutes?
I
Signify by saying aye. Okay. Now let's look at the financials. Talk us through it, please.
Well, we did more money in the bank account that is listed here, and we'll have more coming in. Basically, you know, we have it lists our, about 14,000 in the bank at the end of October.
And that doesn't include the 14K we just got. No,
Right, and we got during the month of November,
November,
other, grant installments. Yeah, we have of our land bank initiative phase 1, which is the operating support, we, have 133,000 left to spend. We have about 1.4 million left to spend in the, capital money from the land bank initiative phase 2 money. Our current assets are over 2 million. Total liabilities and equity 2.1 million. This will all change as properties get sold.
yeah,
So go to the profit and loss. Yeah, and it shows, the, monies from the land bank initiative that have come in or been spent. Typical other, expenses for the month. Let's look at the one. October. Yeah, operating around 30,000, which is very, what we're usually spending. And our net income now is negative, about negative 30,000. So that does all kind of hopefully come out in the wash, so that's just 1 month. That's basically it. Specific questions.
So October does not include the recent closing.
Correct, because that was like, just as like 13th of November. I mean, I don't know if you were here, we have another closing for the first week of December.
Jen, tell me again what the total cost of goods sold again is that?
It's just the cost of maintaining the properties,
Okay,
so.
so that includes
the lines.
everything, the utilities, the insurance.
Yeah.
The building permit, so exactly what it's listed, okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
because our goods are the buildings.
You're good, yeah.
already, accept the motion to approve the financials. Thank you. Second,
Second.
thank you, Norma. All in favor? Aye. No opposition. All right. December 18th meeting. I know I'll be here. What's everybody's calendar look like? Not
I'll
sure.
be here.
You'll be here? You're not sure? Uh-oh. It's 4:21 PM.
Sorry, not sure if I'll be here.
Okay.
I was here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'll send out an email to the other people. So let's plan on that date. All right, we've got to update our signatures.
Yeah, I went to MVP last week and discovered that one of our former board members is still on that account.
So we need those cards or how they do it nowadays.
I think they need a resolution in order to remove him and add someone else.
Okay.
So it's David Kochak is on there and you, Lisa?
I think I am.
Yeah, no, you
Oh, yeah.
from that one, yeah, so we need to add another person.
Is it a two signature or they just need one?
Like as an authorized person or I can't remember what they call it.
But it doesn't,
Doesn't
payments don't
require-
require two signatures,
No,
so we have twice as many as we can.
yes,
That's the way to do it, yes, correct.
I mean, I'm on there also,
Got it, okay.
yeah.
So we need, please volunteer.
Who is the current treasurer?
Andrew,
I mean, that's.
That's
that would-
usually
that's-
right.
Yeah, that would
Right.
make sense,
Full point.
should we could also wait until he's at the meeting if we want.
No,
Want me to ask him? I mean, I did speak with him earlier.
okay. I don't know.
He's not, the only issue is he's not up here full time right now, so if for some reason he needed it back,
That could be a problem.
I mean, it's never been an issue.
Alright.
No. So I'm usually.
This is not the main account either, this is where we have the line of credit,
This in VP.
MVP, good for credit.
So how often are you like
Mid-H. and
writing
VP.
checks for that from that account?
Mid-Hudson Valley.
Not that often?
No, it's usually, only when I'm transferring money for the line of
So
credit
if
into
you're
our
transferring the
regular.
money, do you need two signatures?
No, it's for the card so that
Oh,
right, but
if the one is not here.
Just
the other-
day to
There's
day,
no card, but
either of you or Andrew could sign.
yes,
Okay.
like if I weren't available, one of the other two signatories.
I think
would
it
write
makes
a
sense,
check.
I think it makes sense to be Andrew.
Yeah.
And then make a note going forward, if we have a different, treasurer, we should just update this.
And it's directs me back. Should we
Okay.
revisit that in a minute?
Okay. Moving right along. Legacy cities.
So just for the recording, or I'm not sure if we're streaming, but we did sell 59 Lander last week and we're about to sell 63 Lander. The first week of December hopefully, and then we have these two buildings for sale for first time home buyers, 39 South Miller and 136 Lander. And those applications are due December 1st. Pathstone is the one processing the applications, and all information is available on our website.
Now land bank initiative.
So we put out an RFQ for contractors to complete stabilization work at 128 Du Bois. And that was due last Friday, which was November 15th. We did have a walkthrough on the 7th,
Yeah, the prior week, Friday before.
and there were several contractors in attendance, and we received one bid by the deadline, which was shared with everyone. The bid was from Lemley and Wolf. So hopefully everybody had an opportunity to look at it. They included bios of, information about the company and the individual people. And then they provided, everything that we requested otherwise in terms of bid sheet, pricing sheet, the total amount for the project, would be $127,115. They have their insurance, proof of insurance. Pretty straightforward, we're, you know, it's redoing some of the work that was done prior, correctly. And doing a little bit more of the work on the roof, some site work.
Is this their first Cousin Dolly project?
So I can speak to, so they are currently the co-developer for the Newburgh Ministries project. You know, they did another project in Pearl River, which I don't know if that counts as the Hudson Valley, but
Well, outside of New York City is helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
they are Bronx-based. Full disclosure, I've worked with them extensively in the past in my prior position. As they were contractor on 2 significant projects I worked on, and they also were property managers for some of the buildings I worked with. They have hundreds of buildings, like they've been around since the 1930s, and they're pretty, you know, prominent, I would say, you know, for-profit affordable housing developers in the city. Yeah, Bronx-based, and they have a lot of properties in the Bronx and Upper Manhattan, but also I think in other boroughs. And two of their principals live, like one in New Windsor and one in the town of Newburgh, both women of color, and they have 2 of their 5 principals. So they're trying to move and do more work in this area. They have a lot of employees also who live in the area.
Sounds positive.
I have 2 questions, so, but they're doing work that was designed by Jeff or
Yeah.
a licensed builder?
Yeah, so I mean, this is like kind of a pretty small project for them, but they wanna get, you know, the total.
And then did Jeff or you provide a cost estimate, so, and are they reasonably close to said cost estimate?
So we have, the original plans that we have weren't from Jeff, they were from
Fine,
a
yeah.
structural engineer that Keith Leibel hired in Clapper. He's a little difficult to get a hold of, but we're gonna work with Jeff on getting the permit, and if we can get a permit with plans we have in the ASBIL, then that's probably, we may take that route because it'll be more cost effective. There's a couple of different ways to approach it. Basically, the engineer has had a more complicated scope, and there's ways to do it in a cheaper.
Yeah, we may be able to reduce this, but this is what was in the bid, but they're also, yeah, we had a prior estimate that was 182,000.
Oh, okay,
You
so
got
we're
that?
ballpark,
You got
I just,
that?
I like
Yeah,
general,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
right,
I
yeah,
mean-
this is twice as much as we thought it was, I would guess.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
No, well, I mean,
Okay.
like over a year ago, we had a
Okay,
bid for
that was
182,000.
my question.
And in full disclosure, I did, this was a bid sheet I did based on the scope of work that the engineer,
The drawings
the
from it.
prepare, update that he did when he came back and saw everything that was messed up. And then, so anyhow, it was not a great, bid. I mean, you know, I'm a lay person, I'm not a professional at this stuff, so. So yeah, but anyhow, I think that, it came in, you know, quite a bit under what Carl was.
And then-
So lumber, that's great, because, yeah, that's.
Yeah, they had some suggestions of of how to value and engineer more, so.
And then how many people did the walkthrough, and did you get any feedback about why there was so many bids? And if not, it's not.
We didn't get feedback, there were about 4 or 5 firms that showed up.
Were they local or?
Yes,
Yeah, a guy named Josh Diaz, Philippe came, Carlos came for a moment, a guy named Pedro, Instranosa, who is, Pedro's, drywall and construction, and then one thing more.
So they, just curiosity, because they keep telling me they wanna work on it, but the guys across the street from the 3 up here on my. Yeah, the guy on the plane.
so. Egon.
Yeah. He is partnered with the guy who owns the building on the corner of, Catherine. Campbell and,
Are you talking about Zach or?
yes, so they're partnered and they have been very
No, I'm meeting
aggressive.
with him next week about something else.
Okay, they've been very aggressive that they like wanna do this kind of work.
They may
I was
not.
like, no,
Oh.
they did, I was like, here's an RFP, and so I'm curious why they don't, okay.
No,
That's purely curiosity, and has nothing to do with
Yeah,
this,
no, of course.
just to be clear, but.
No, and then we had a second walkthrough for this other project, 140 Chambers, and not all, it wasn't all the same people, there were overlap, so there was overlap, but yeah. I don't know why, I don't know if people were like unclear about the deadline, it was pretty clear on the RFQ.
Yeah, you can read it that way.
Right, I don't agree with hiring people like that, all of these
Right.
too, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's fine, but that's my bar.
Now, there doesn't need to be any asbestos or lead abatement?
That was done already.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's no subs required, so that's kind of nice, they can. Just bring it.
yeah, and the person who'd be overseeing it normally had like a framing business for 20 years. So,
Is it possible, I know this is outside the scope of this, but it's a light building at night. It's one of those things on that block right now that it's the one empty, even just to have.
Targets.
I mean, there's
something.
That
no
would be nice.
wiring.
I think you could do,
I mean, there's,
you could do a spotlight, you could do like the,
Solar. could
and
be
the, what do you call that, their, motion sensors. We put them on buildings we're working on now because.
oh, yeah,
trying to
how are they
figure it out.
cut?
Yeah, how are they cut?
I'll look into it. I think they've been pretty, that they're either solar or they're battery operated. I have to look into it. But I don't.
Especially like in a big investment, in it would be nice to.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that
certainly
fence
once,
is definitely an improvement.
yeah,
So,
what,
I know that fence is an improvement to keep folks
From
off of
parking.
failing masonry and parking.
yeah, and we're, part of this is, as you saw, like, it's, securing the sidewalk wall.
But I think you're right to be able to illuminate it in some form or fashion. Did we try it one year or did I learn about it? A number of years ago, a city was illuminating all their vacant buildings.
That's Troy, New York,
Yeah,
right?
Troy did they illuminated the windows.
Yes.
I don't know how they did that. I remember reading about that.
A lot
I
of
assume they're
batteries.
batteries, yeah.
Oh, you mean like literally. Lights.
Maybe,
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, didn't they do that on the corner of South Miller? An artist lit up the one that was the carriage house.
Yep.
And they ran an extension cord over to the parking lot of the Redco property.
Yeah,
That's another
We
way
lit
to.
up the Dutch Reformed Church, but it has power, so
Oh,
that's.
it does, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
That has power, it has an alarm system,
Wow, who knew?
that works
so it works.
For the summer.
a lot.
So, I know people have to go, so.
Okay,
Sorry.
140 Chambers, that's the one with the round porch.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, that's a gorgeous building.
It is. And it's all like Tudor underneath it, like it's a Tudor style building with the, stucco in between the.
Is it?
Yeah, that's,
so
we have
hard to
plans
see.
to bring that back, yeah, so,
So you need a motion?
yes.
Okay, I move to accept Lumley and Wolf's bid for 128 Du Bois Street.
All in favor? Aye. Everybody's in favor, no. Anybody else is okay? Good,
We also have the okay from manager on the signature, if we want to move that.
great.
And move to remove David Kotek as a signature on our line of credit and add Andrew Sharper.
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Let's see what else we have to vote on.
Who's seconding that motion? Sorry, me. Thank you. Easy.
Okay. Okay. We talk about 44 South Miller.
Yeah, why don't I go to 140, just because we're
Go ahead.
similar, 140 Chambers, we also have an RFQ out that's due December 13th. And we had the walkthrough, the same day as the 128 Du Bois one, again, it's also a stabilization, partial renovation of the property. Jeff Wilkinson is the architect, and that will be, I guess, for the next meeting, hopefully we'll
You
get.
think you'll get more than one or?
Yeah, we are doing a second walkthrough, we just scheduled it for December 3rd because there were a couple of clarification issues that came up at the last walkthrough. And we reissued the RFQ with those updates, but we're gonna have another walkthrough just to make sure people that didn't see it the first time around can come and we can just be very clear about what we're requiring. Because we do have almost full scale drawings or we have a full design, but we're not doing the full design yet, we're doing this partial amount. And so there was like a little bit of confusion about how far we were going. So hopefully we'll have more bidders or, they'll all bid, the people that came will all submit something.
I think they will, I think it was clear, I think having Jeff as a design professional on site helped because he did answer some questions, he was able to answer questions and.
Yeah, we had a whole discussion with all the, it was pretty intensive. So,
Any local
so that'll,
people?
what?
Any local people?
Yeah, it was a similar kind of group and there were,
There are a couple of people I've never seen before, I've got the signage.
but they're
sheet,
local.
But yeah, it's like, Josh Diaz again, but then a couple of other, like, Mako, what's his name? I gotta look it up if that comes up. Maybe not, you guys might know.
Okay, 44 South Hill.
So 44 South Miller, we're working with Carlos Carbonero on that. And he's worked extensively with us and architect Jeff Wilkinson on figuring out the plan. To do this complicated stabilization of the facade and the roof. And we now have a scaffolding company that we've identified and made a deposit to, so they're gonna put the scaffolding up and then we can do the environmental testing and then be able to finalize our contract to do the full work based on what that asbestos testing comes back as.
That was the tricky Senhad situation also.
We had to move the line.
We
the
did do
property
that,
lines.
yeah, we moved the lines in the front of the building.
There's like 7 feet between the facade and the lines, basically.
Now?
8 feet, it's
Uh-huh.
the lines are very close to all the buildings, and then there's like, we have to move it down, we have to make an adjustment because there's a fire escape on a retro building. Basically, is where the extension of the sidewalk shed would reach to, and what side of the sidewalk.
So yeah, it's just very complicated how to face it, and I think we've kind of finally figured out how to make that happen.
And Carlos is on board.
Yes.
He's gonna be removing this fire escape, so if you go in there, he's already removed a couple of small saplings that needed to be taken care of. And he's gonna help us with the project management of getting one scaffold set up.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Request to city for new properties.
So it was presented,
Oh.
internally to executive staff. The feedback is, well, first, they got completely confused by the idea of what it was paying. They're like, we can't increase it. So that aside, there is a question about whether it's a shift in focus, and I think there just needs to be some sort of clarification on the gardening portions.
Yeah, I did communicate with David Cole
Okay.
about it, he brought that question to me.
So, I don't know a question for you is, when is your annual presentation to council? It used to be in December, but I think it's
No,
gone.
I think it's March,
Yeah.
in the minutes.
It is in the spring.
Cause the thought that we kind of worked on was, a presentation from you about the ask. The ones that go to housing, no one cares, not that no one cares, but it's repetitive and we do it all the time, and it's very straightforward, that's the word I'm looking for, very straightforward. The fact that the land bank is requesting both buildable and non-buildable lots, but more importantly, obviously, buildable lots with the intention of not building on them is to staff a change in direction that council and the land bank should be clear, and should be clear that we all agree on that
Right.
long-term
Will somebody
priority.
be building on them other than us?
We could, the city could, so
Or
the way that,
contractor?
the way that the city disposes of property is Jen gets the right of first refusal. So we have not exhausted our options theoretically on, you know, marketing, what could be a buildable lot.
But ultimately, the idea with these lots is to build long-term, this is, we have money available now to.
So I think that can be a conversation,
it's
if
like
this is a
temporary,
short-term,
yeah.
I think that's a fine conversation, I just
Yeah.
think it needs to be
clarify
presented.
it.
And then there will not be a vote that, right, it'll be presented in cycle one. And then they'll have some time to ask questions. And then, and listen, this is not gonna discuss with anyone in council, so maybe I'll shoot to Ramona to see if she understands. I think there is, it's not me, but there are people on staff who are frustrated with the Newburgh Parks Conservancy. And so right through the runaround that David and I are like, oh, why don't we just go this way? So I do not believe, but she should say that, I do not believe that that exists on council, the same way it does on staff. So this may be absolutely moot if it's presented to council, but I think if that timeline works for you, we could schedule a presentation, a pause of just for the, they wouldn't vote that Monday. They would have a chance to ask questions and then,
So would that hold up
Return.
all the other properties, or would it be?
Or, well, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
we could just remove all of the parks ones, and just go.
The ones that
through
are buildable lots.
The ones where there's, in your letter, a bunch of them are just like, this is gonna go into this program, you know,
Yeah.
any of this, that's housing.
Well, should I just take that out?
I
How
think
many
it's
are we
something
talking
for
about?
free, right?
Yeah,
Just.
and only one of those three
Is
is buildable,
buildable.
right, 128 third.
And then another one we
Although to be
added was
fair,
six-
you put the two together.
was
Yeah,
six-
no, you can make
68 Campbell is another one that's buildable.
68.
It's on the.
It like faces that hill from the
yeah.
It's
hospital.
on the corner.
Why are they confused or upset with Kathy Lawrence?
I do not believe it's confusion or, I think it's first, it is that the city, well, so here are some things that were brought up that are valid. One is, the city sells property as is. The land bank has means to mitigate any potential as is when you're building something, but some of the concerns that were brought up to Kathy when she came originally to the city to ask to do this in contract with the city were, we don't do any testing, so is there lead in the soil, right, if you have fruit trees, is the city liable for something like that? So the question then continues forward, is the land bank going to take on testing to make sure that these are safe? Ultimately, who maintains them long-term? If it turns it is, so the question I did have to clarify too was, is this gonna be a park, right? Is the land bank gonna do a safe harbors bid and build a privately owned public park? I was like, I don't think that's the intention, but like, you know, I think you've taken in your head this farther. But I think there's just some clarification that needs to happen. In the short term, we're looking for housing. We have a plan for this sheet, we're looking for a plan, but in the interim, we're gonna work with Kathy Lawrence. That may be the presentation, and again, some of this,
Yeah.
Ramona's feedback, because ultimately they decide.
It sounds like what you're talking about is on land, planting things on land, that people are gonna access that land. As opposed to a street tree. Nobody's gonna walk on a street tree.
Well, right, or whatever the proposal is, I just don't think it was deeply detailed, and so the question.
Right,
is
because they have to
that-
put together more of a plan if, like, based on whether or not they know.
Right,
that
I
they're
almost
getting
wish
this.
we just had a list, and we were like, these are all the ones the land bank
I mean,
wants,
I can
and
take that
we can
off.
go, it's so
I-
weird, guys, oh, man,
No,
but
because I mean, part of it is with the buildable lots is that we're gonna assemble them and we're looking at, like, can we put together some kind of, get somebody to develop homes on all, scattered site, affordable home ownership or something like that. We were talking yesterday with Diana about coming up with design guidelines for those, and so, some of those lots could be part of that package, but that's gonna probably take a while
So I
to
think-
happen.
maybe the best thing is just to put you on the December. Agenda, but there's only gonna be one in December, so then we're looking at but as a
It's already
presentation.
jam-packed.
Is
What
it?
I'm told.
Oh, I don't feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like, because a lot of this stuff is not like solid, like, I don't know how much of a
How
plan they
much
want.
of a delay does presenting in the first meeting in January and voting the second meeting in January?
That's fine, I mean, like, really, the reality is, like, none of these, I don't think any of these properties are like urgent, like, it's really more those, like, in terms of Kathy being able to plan.
Right.
Because we have a lot of other stuff that we're working on more, intensely right now.
Because I think that would be an ideal timeline for
Yeah.
the city. First, you present the first meeting in January, you're saying a lot of things here that I think make a lot of sense and are compelling, that weren't. I thought it was straightforward because the last 10 times we proposed a land bank purchase, it's been absolutely straightforward, so
This is the first time in my 5 years
Yeah,
I've
right.
even been asked to request property, so I didn't know, like,
it was.
how much they wanted to know.
Because every other time it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, great.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it was like this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, and I was just like, whoa, like, what are your actual concerns? So we've dialed that back some, I think it's just
Yeah.
a request, a presentation.
The other thing for me is that I need to know, I mean, I'm just gonna put in a request for our funding for the amount that I'm requesting.
Everyone except the 3 is not problematic,
Right,
so
okay.
just, that's.
Because I just need to, like, I'm having this whole like kind of chicken and egg and timing thing with when to get additional funding from the state. But I'm just gonna assume this is what I need and that it's gonna be like maybe first or second quarter of next year that I'll need that money, right?
I have a call with Kathy. I tried to reach her today, I had a message. And I was gonna chat with her, and I'd rather chat here with you folks first. But I was thinking, what can her trees that she's gonna have next year? She says she's planted 71 trees. So there's another year coming up. And I think it would be well to focus on the fall, and a lot less susceptible to.
Well, that's what she told me when I asked for
Yeah.
additional trees for our current project, she said not until next fall.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking, and I wanted to see what everybody thought about this, about the first block of Lander Street.
Mhm.
And maybe wrapped around the corner of the roadway.
About on street trees. So the street tree issue outside of site plan is complicated, and that's where some of the issues with Kathy have come. So a site plan is, which is what the 2 on Lander Street were, the 2 houses on Lander Street is as part of that, the city gives there's full review and permission to plant the trees. There is not a good process for the planting of the street trees outside of that process. So the CAC does some and I don't completely understand it's just,
It's not straightforward.
it's not straightforward, and then I think what Kathy's done is like, well, let's just go into, as soon as someone goes and does something that really angers the city, we really hate that. And so I think there's been some of that. I will give you a specific issue today because we thought everything we were planting today, literally today, the street trees were planted. And, there's outreach that has to go into it, there's soil, they have to look at the sidewalk, do they have to cut the holes, are there existing holes, is it big enough, what size trees, they thought they had everything, they go to one of the houses, the owner comes out and is like, I didn't want this, no one talked to me about this, why am I doing this? And then it just becomes like, well, who is in charge of talking to the homeowner? And, it clearly was not the DPW laborer who's currently trying to plant a tree, it was like, I don't know what it is, nobody knows it.
But
So
it's
I-
also city, it's a city sidewalk.
It's a city side, exactly, so these were, what was planted today was CAC, which is our Conservation Advisory Council. Working some with Kathy and the ambassadors, picking locations, talking to homeowners. But the city bought the trees and the city planted the trees in our own sidewalk.
where was that?
Yeah, we're,
The one today, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't, they did them all over today,
Oh.
I think they did like 6 today.
They did it though, and it's not like a homeowner should come out of the block.
They didn't plant that one.
Wow.
That one didn't go in the ground. Ultimately, there was a call that had to be made and George and I were just like, we have other
so they
places,
didn't
we're gonna
talk
plant it tomorrow
to
somewhere else.
the homeowner.
That's what it sounds
They said they did. right? Well, but on the fly, when the laborer is there, who's accountable if it's not city staff, right? So it's not, city staff didn't do that, it was the CAC working with,
Right, but
Newburgh
it's my
partnership
understanding
working
that
with
they have to get the buy-in from the,
and they
We
claim
have
they
a spot for that tree.
Right. It's a big one though, the problem is it's a full size too, so.
I understand
now.
where we have to be neighborly and let these people know what's happening. But it sounds to me, although I don't hear finished sentences, that the homeowner should have a negative vote on whether or not the tree is. If you wanna do a whole block, they're gonna come along and if it's not here and not here, and it look like you have holes in your teeth.
And if it was a city project, we would have had, someone, it just would have been done, there also would have been someone to be able to answer the phone instantly that said, and this happened, I spoke with that lady, she was fine yesterday, planting tree, which has happened before, changed your mind, we're not doing it. If I personally spoke with someone, we had a 45-minute conversation and she said, this sounds great, I'm so happy, if she changed her mind. I can take responsibility for that, when it becomes someone, that's where it's hard for the city. We're absolutely we go too far, there's a line and we absolutely often go over, so I'm not the
You
advocate
try
for
to
this
coerce
process.
them when they're resistant.
I don't have anything to do with it, that's what I'm saying,
I don't want to know if we get turned away, if we're coming to plant trees on your street, beautiful trees.
I'm with you,
Alright, so
It's just-
there's a couple other updates I wanted to.
yes,
So let me know as quickly as possible if that timeline, first meeting in January.
Let's do that.
If that, okay,
Yeah.
so we'll plan for that,
Okay.
and then I think it'll be fine after that. Also, everyone's happy after the holidays.
That'll be my annual
It's a little
presentation.
tense.
Yes, exactly, yes, we'll move it up to that, or if you just wanna do a purchase, but I think if you can move your
Get it
annual.
all over.
Yeah, exactly, okay.
Yeah, it's good to know how much detail is needed, in terms of
Now,
question.
I think
better
I
understanding.
think detail is important, as far as I'm concerned, so.
No, but some of it is like what the land bank does is assemble property, and so we might not know.
I think
Yeah.
explaining that,
Yeah.
is saying, we have a series of interim things we do, artist and vacancy.
Right.
This, that, and the other, this year will also be like, bringing in a partnership, who may be
Right.
landscaping, or.
We're trying to partner with all these different
I think
organizations.
that was just, and
Yeah.
again, some of it was my, I sent it out there, it was like, oh, here's our list,
Yeah.
we're not gonna own these shitty properties anymore, guys, isn't this great? And they were like, whoa.
Okay, so very briefly with 143 Washington, there's been a lot of back and forth about how much they're requesting of the land bank initiative funding. And I have been in communication with HCR, which is gonna be, Madeline is overseeing the PLP program, which is their main source of funding, together with CPC as the construction lender. There's been a lot of emailing going around. HCR is very supportive of this project being completed in March, which is like when their PLP year end is, and using this money to fill the gap. The question is how much money, right? And Madeline's saying that's up to you and your board, how much you wanna invest in this process, but we will increase your land bank initiative funding accordingly to make this project work. However, we don't wanna give more than what is necessary. She also said that the PLP program is adjusting their term sheet and their subsidy amount, and she will hopefully know in the next couple of weeks what that is, and it could drastically increase the PLP portion and reduce the land bank initiative need or ask.
So we should wait till December.
Yeah, so the developers really wanna know, but I said, I think we need to wait, because I don't, it's very high what they're asking now, it's more than double what we had originally offered. But that could really change a lot by the next meeting.
We've been waiting
Yeah,
time anyway,
come
so
on,
what's?
yeah, give us a month.
But they
Yeah,
want it, it
yes.
looks like if this is happening, it'll definitely happen by March of next year. It's just now ironing out that, and we have to ask for more money from the state, and, which is great, they're willing to give us that, and can increase other things if necessary, but that's like the why it's like so complicated with like, when am I gonna need the acquisition funds, and anyway, I mean, at least I know that HCR is supportive of us doing this and, wants to spend the money that they have allocated for this, for the land bank initiative. So just wanted to give a heads up about that, and CPC's credit committee did approve their loan last month.
That's great. At least
That's a big step, yeah, and so then because of that, now HCR is kind of more in gear with their side of it.
Great.
104.
I mean, it's still the same, I spoke to Philippe the other day, I guess they're,
He submitted,
We saw him again last time, I think planning, hadn't voted yet, so we were not able to vote, I think.
We haven't, we cleared seeker.
Oh, that was the hang up.
So now they can go back to the ZBA.
and he submitted his, application, to the IDA as well for that.
that was the other thing, yeah.
So he's working,
Yeah.
which I
Yes.
think is.
And we gave neg deck and we're lead agency, we just declared ourselves lead agency.
Speaking of Washington Street, is anything happening with the Washington Street School?
That's,
Amazing project.
Oh, Seashore?
Yeah, I know, it's gotta be a major project.
Oh, it's an amazing project, it's true.
Really?
Yeah.
Where is it? What's been
Oh,
done?
he's asking for an extension of his approval, he's been approved.
Yeah.
But that was a year ago.
We call it many units.
Not off the top of my head, yes, it's a very large.
Large number.
And
It's
mixed
retail
use.
apartments, right?
Yeah.
And he said he'd hope to be in the ground in the next 2 or 3 months.
Previous Newburgh developer who did a remarkable project, so.
Wire brushing. On the way over here, I saw activity at the Liberty Street School.
Yeah.
Front door was open, people walking in and out.
all right, I have another update I wanted to share before everybody has to go. With Restore New York, we just the 72, 76, 78 lander, and we've engaged Open Structure, which is Diana, my cousin, and she's searching. They are working on, they did measurements, they're working on, kind of layouts, and basic AutoCAD drawings. They're working on the historic tax credit application. Today, Diana pointed out that 61 Campbell is a city-owned property, and so I spoke to David about putting that on the list, our request, because that could be used as driveway. Also, I'm in conversation with Habitat about 80 Lander. And maybe swapping a property with them, because that could add significantly to this project. And then also Diana was looking at, how can we build back on, build out the street wall on Campbell? And their research shows that there was another commercial space
76.
at 76 called Campbell Intersects. And so looking at that, I don't know, because it is kind of like we were talking about for residential, it's like very low to the street. So just looking at those options and how can we meet the unit count that we've committed to, but also kind of improve the street and the commercial.
And is there a revisit on the commercial side? Is that feasible?
Yeah, I think the restore program has changed a little bit.
That's the
Yeah,
answer. I think we would potentially have to reapply or renegotiate, but the program now allows different than what we applied.
That would be a significant.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful storefront, and the other thing is that Carlos is doing a clean out and he's gonna shore up that structural issue.
The rental, the beam in the front, wooden beam that's failed, it's barely
It's
sitting
cast iron
on
molding.
the pier, yeah. Yeah, so he's gonna put a steel I-beam up there and use screw jacks and then put it on the steel plate down there. We looked at this, the foundation underneath the building, it's really solid.
It's very
Good.
So yeah, it's exciting, like now it's kind of filling in and it is turning into something that could be really exciting in terms of
That would be a major.
impacting that, yeah. So, because there's all these kind of random little lots and stuff that on Campbell there.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting, and we were talking about engaging a structural engineer to provide plans to do like an initial structural stabilization on some of the, at least 2 of the buildings. So that's moving.
10 DEC, 10 chambers. It's just, you can't get nobody can get an answer from the DEC, or somebody put an X on a line, which is all we really need. Okay, 146 South Street.
I do not have an update, but that reverter action is still in process.
Has it been filed?
Yes.
Who's gonna modify it?
I mean, that's a question, like, we could do it with another batch of home ownership, but it's like, is that a place where somebody would wanna buy it, so that's my only question, but it's a beautiful building.
There's a lot starting to
Yeah.
come before us on that stretch of south, and I do think.
That building is very similar in type to 136 Lander, I believe, with the peaked roof, right?
Where is it on?
It's beautiful.
Near where?
It's
Near Liberty.
Yeah,
Near
it's
what?
Chambers and
Give me a call if this property works, right?
Oh, North Miller?
North Miller, yeah.
It's a lot.
It's mid-block, but it also, because it's
So
a
all of
block,
our buildings.
it would be meaningful to
Yeah,
have that building get some love.
so the guy that bought it is kind of like MIA, like they tried to serve him, but only his father lives at that address in Queens that he used, so that's kind of where we're at with that, but there might be other steps the attorneys take.
You have to locate him physically to serve him.
Yes,
I mean,
unless you go to the court
Yeah.
for an order of public.
So that might be what they.
That might be the next step.
Yeah, because he's on the tax and just do it.
Is he tax or?
I don't know, actually, I don't remember.
So
I don't know if I got an answer about
he
that.
he owns it outright. So another option, if you don't get anywhere, is the city has the abandonment proceedings. It takes as long as the court takes. But you need to prove 2 of 4 abandonment,
But doesn't that take time?
takes, yes.
It
takes
does.
as long
So
as
this
the
might
court
be
takes.
faster as
Yeah,
long as we can
absolutely.
do what he's saying or whatever, or I don't know what.
If we have a
else.
right to, then a judge would.
Yeah,
Which court would have jurisdiction of that?
I think we use county supreme, I don't know if we have to
It's
or
not
if we want
city
to,
court,
yes, correct, it's not city
No.
court.
Sorry.
yeah, I think that's
Do we need a vote or anything else?
adjourn.
Is that it? A motion to adjourn? Carson made it.
One second.
Everybody have a great holiday. Thank you very much.
Do we get everything? We look puzzled.
Yeah,
Move through.
That was a fast one. Thank you.
no, there's a lot going on. It's so exciting, yeah. Thanks.
So,
I'm
sorry.
gonna hire someone.
I'm sorry. about
Take care, Eric.
like-
Thank you.
I just wasn't-
All right.
Oh, did you
Thank you,
see
John.
the-
Yes, oh, yes, so,
Have a good evening.
yes, that's an issue, I don't.
Thanks, John.
I know all the issues related to it, I